The fantasy playoffs are here. Let's get to the waiver wire right now on FFT Express. All right, no teams are on a bye, and hope you made the playoffs. 10-team leagues still going into the regular season, whatever the case may be. It's crunch time. Jamie, how we doing?
Doing great. It's going to be an interesting week on the waiver wire. Excited to see some of these players, and obviously a lot of injuries that could still matter as well. Certainly at the running back position.
Is Jaylen Wright the guy to get?
I think you got to put him as the top priority. I mean, we've seen what this Dolphins offense looks like. We know what they're capable of as a running team, and certainly a lot of that is based on the strength and skill of Devon Achane. But Achane leaves the game against the Jets, and Jaylen Wright, we thought, okay, is it going to be Wright? Is it going to be Ollie Gordon? Seems like Wright is the one that you want to go and get. I would still put in claims for Ollie Gordon just based on the potential of maybe them splitting and maybe Gordon getting some of those goal line opportunities. But I mean, Jaylen Wright looked awesome. We know he was kind of like a Devon Achane clone, just based on size and skill and what he did in college. Yeah, I think so. At this point, we're ranking Devon Achane, so we're expecting him to play based on what Mike McDaniel said. But just in case, like we're looking for league winners right now, and that's a league-winning type of player.
It's going to be a tough call for fantasy managers because you don't want to spend that priority on a guy who's not going to do anything for you. So let's not talk about it now. Hopefully we'll get an update on Monday afternoon and we'll know more on Tuesday. We also are going to have a show. We haven't had a CBS Sports Network waiver wire show in a few weeks. We are going to have one noon Eastern on CBS Sports Network. So if we hear anything between our 8:30 a.m. episode and our noon Eastern show on TV, of course, we'll keep you posted with the latest and hopefully get a little bit more clarity. You want to stay on running back? Is there any other running back to get?
Yeah, it's another similar situation. We're expecting Tyrone Tracy to be healthy, but Devin Singletary could be a potential starting running back for the Giants. And look, he may end up being the better of the Giants running backs anyway. We've seen basically since Cam Scatterbo got hurt, it's been a couple of weeks of Singletary, a couple of weeks of Tracy, and the better weeks for Singletary have come with Jackson Dart. The better weeks for Tracy came with Jameis Winston. It was the first 2 weeks of Mike Kafka being the interim head coach, so I didn't know like which to sort of attach the reasoning to, why Tracy was necessarily better than Singletary. Matchups played a part as well. But Singletary, look, he gets opportunities to score touchdowns. He's involved in the passing game. Maybe he has a better rapport with Dart. Maybe they just like him better as a pass protector, so they're going to keep him out there knowing that Dart's injury track record being what it is. So I think Singletary is definitely worth picking up. And in the event that, this hip contusion is more of a problem for Tracy, we haven't seen them since their bye week, so for 2 weeks. I think Singletary is worth picking up. Blake Corum, we talked about this on Sunday. He's basically been 7+ carries for about 7-8 weeks now. There's a chance that, if Kyron Williams goes down, obviously this is a league-winning guy, but maybe an option to use him as a flex. I don't know how much you'll trust him against Detroit, but in the event that they are blowing out the Lions, we could see Blake Corum getting some additional run late in the game. But they've been alternating drives, as you've pointed out numerous times. So Corum got a touchdown each of the last 2 games, and maybe he has an opportunity to find the end zone again. After those 3, it's kind of a mixed bag of what you're looking for. Have Dylan Sampson and Samaje Perine next. Sampson in 2 of 3 games with Shedeur Sanders has done something significant in the passing game. The first start, he had the 69 yards and a touchdown. Last week, he had 6 catches. The game before that, he left with an injury. So we'll see if they're just leaning on Sampson a little bit more as a pass catcher, and the fact that Sanders is using him a little bit. Also coincides with Tommy Rees taking over play calling duties for the Browns. So maybe they're just involving their running backs in the passing game a little bit more. And then it's really just 2 high-end handcuffs that I have left. I don't know how much I need to write about or we need to talk about. Make sure you get Ray Davis and Malik Davis and, some of these guys that if they could be the next man up. I think a lot of people know that. But 2 guys I think that should definitely be rostered because we've either seen them or know what they're capable of. Brian Robinson Jr., 51% rostered. Emmanuel Wilson, 60% rostered. Something happens to Christian McCaffrey or Josh Jacobs, you're looking at, guys that should be league winners.
All right, we're going to take a break. We'll get the other positions for you when we come back. But those are the running backs to look at for Week 15. Quarterbacks after this. All right, quarterbacks. Jamie, so who are the quarterbacks to add? And if you have Jacoby Brissett and have been starting Brissett, now he gets Houston in Week 15. Do you go to the waiver wire or just stick with your guy?
I think you have to go to the waiver wire. It's a tough call because the rest of season schedule for the Cardinals is still favorable, and Brissett has come through. Look, he did well against Seattle. He's done well against the Rams. He's done well against. I want to say there's one other team in there that I'm potentially missing. Houston is just different. You saw what they've done to Josh Allen. You saw what they did to Patrick Mahomes. Like, they are just destroying quarterbacks at this point. And I don't know if Brissett, as good as he's been, as much as he'll throw, what this game flow could be. Like, I don't. Here's the other part of this. Like, the Texans' offense doesn't do enough that I think their defense takes their foot off the gas late in games.
Mm-hmm.
So
It's not really that encouraging, but the only guy who had a good game against them, 23.9 fantasy points for Baker Mayfield. He did throw 38 passes. Bo Nix, second best game against Houston, 20.5 fantasy points. He threw 37 passes. You have Cam Ward and Trevor Lawrence, who threw 37 or 40 passes and had horrible games. So that's kind of like a mixed bag. You got 4 quarterbacks who have thrown 37 or more passes against Houston. One of them scored 23.9. One of them scored 20.5. You think we can get better than that from Marcus Mariota at the Giants?
I would trust it.
Yeah. Who else?
So Mariota's number 1 for me. CJ Stroud is too. Taking on this Cardinals defense. They've been bad lately against quarterbacks. And again, they face some good ones in there, but Brock Purdy, 200 yards, 3 touchdowns. Trevor Lawrence, the 3 touchdown, 3 interception game. I don't know how much the Texans, even if Nick Chubb is out, like, does Woody Marks win this game for them? I think Stroud could have one of his better games. So Stroud is not in the top 12 because, like you said, no team's on a bye, but he's borderline. And then this is where those are probably the only 2 that I would say I'm definitely starting over Jacoby Brissett. Then we get to these next 4 guys that I would still start Brissett over. And this one is probably the debatable one, is Tyler Shuck, because he's now 3 of his last 4 games over 20 fantasy points. He's taking on a Panthers defense that we know at times has been a little shaky against quarterbacks. They are getting healthier, according to what I saw today. So J.C. Horn, for example, coming back. After Shuck, then I would still stick with Brissett over these guys. Shadur Sanders, Aaron Rodgers, J.J. McCarthy, and then we get into the backups who are only options for Superflex and 2 quarterback leagues. Aaron Rodgers, Riley Leonard, Kenny Pickett, and Brady Cook. And with Riley Leonard and Brady Cook, you have the potential of the high-profile guy who's hurt maybe starting over them. So Anthony Richardson, if he's able to play, maybe they go to him. And then in the case of the Jets, Justin Fields was inactive this week with a knee injury. Do they go to Justin Fields if Tyrod Taylor can't play?
By the way, Jaden Daniels apparently could have come back in the game. They decided to hold him out. So keep that in mind.
They took a lot of flack publicly for playing Jaden Daniels when they're eliminated, and then him getting hurt. I'd be surprised if he plays.
I feel like they took flack after he got hurt.
Well, I think from what I was reading, the Washington fan base locally was very like, what are we doing?
Okay. All right. Who are like some of the top maybe 3 or 4 wide receivers to get?
So Luther Burden for me is number 1. I think just opportunity is pretty obvious here, and had a decent game with the chance to be even better. And I don't know if it's an easier matchup against Cleveland, but which Cleveland defense shows up? Like, that defense was awful, mostly against the run, but did not look like the typical Cleveland defense we've seen in recent weeks.
And Denzel Ward left with an injury.
Yeah, and their one of their run stoppers, defensive lineman, was also out. So maybe we overlooked that a little too much. But then I go Jaden Reed second, just with the hope that he starts to get a little bit more involved, and Jordan Love leans on him. Chimere Dike's third, Pat Bryant is fourth, and then I still go back to Adonai Mitchell and Devon Vele. I think there's still opportunities for those guys to play better. Mitchell, if he has Taylor out there, and Vele if the Saints throw the ball a little bit more.
Okay, maybe if you feel like every week there's wide receivers you want to get, maybe this isn't the week, especially with no teams on bye. Tight ends.
So tight end has a lot of guys in the shallow leagues. We're gonna have fun talking about that, from Dalton Kincaid to Hunter Henry potentially, because he has Buffalo. But Darren Waller, Kyle Pitts, Harold Fannin, obviously, Juwan Johnson. I'll go back to him. Brenton Strange. I'll go back to him as well. But Isaiah Likely, much more involved the last 2 weeks and gets the Bengals again. Colston Loveland's been good 3 of the last 4 weeks. Gets the Browns. Dalton Schultz, I'm not going to give up on him just because he struggled against the Chiefs. Theo Johnson obviously has had some good moments and good matchup this week against Washington. Colby Parkinson, another touchdown. So there's some options there at tight end.
Yeah, it's pretty loaded. Okay, finally DSTs.
It's a really good week for DSTs. I actually just before we started looking to see some of the week 16 options, but you got the 49ers taking on the Titans. You have the Jaguars taking on the Jets, which could be on their third quarterback. You have the Bears taking on the Browns. The Bears obviously have been very good at taking the ball away. And then the 2 teams facing each other, I think, are very interesting because you have the Cowboys against J.J. McCarthy. I don't want to say that McCarthy's fixed just because he did that against the Commanders and how bad they are. And then the Vikings, look, their defense has been playing great. I don't know how much you want to trust them against the Cowboys, but clearly they are doing a great job against opposing passing attacks, and they're going to get after Dak Prescott.
Oh, my gosh. to have to, Dak in the first round of the playoffs against this defense. Oh my gosh, Jamey. It's tough.
Scary, right?
It's very scary. It's fun though. It's what makes fantasy fun.
Oh, you know which receiver I forgot? I'm sorry, I have to add him. Ryan Flournoy. In case CeeDee Lamb is out. I know it's a tough matchup, but still Flournoy deserves to be in there.
Apparently I was saying it wrong. Apparently it's Flournoy without the R.
Flournoy. Gotcha.
Yeah. I got a little flack from the audience. Well, helpful suggestions from the audience. Thank you for that. All right, waiver wire are gonna be a doozy tomorrow. Stay tuned for that. Thanks for watching and listening. Talk to you tomorrow.